Hello my friends. Today I'll be making some tomato sauce, and I thought I'd bring you along and show you how to do it since it's really easy and it's a great thing to have in your pantry. But these tomatoes here are the last of my tomato harvest this year. I brought them all in the house when they were green, and they've all ripened just sitting in a cardboard box. I did nothing special, no magical way to get your tomatoes to ripen in the house. I didn't put them in a bag under the bed or anything silly. I just simply put them in a cardboard box and yeah, picked through them a few weeks later to pick out all the good ones, separated the ones that aren't quite ripe yet or may not ripen, but yeah, all these came in the house green, so it's no problem bringing in your green tomatoes. It's better than letting them freeze, and I'll get a whole bunch of sauce. But yeah, sauce is really easy to make, so I'll bring you along and show you how to do it. Alright, to make tomato sauce, it's really easy. You need the tomatoes, of course, and what I have is a few different kinds of paste tomato or Roma tomato, and some, these are pink bumblebee or something they're called. They're really nice cherry tomatoes. So yeah, you can use any tomatoes, it's fine. Mix them up, it's fine. And then for ingredients, citric acid. So you're just raising the acid content. The tomatoes are already acidic, but that just gives it a little bit more, and that's for preserving it, so we can use a water bath and not having to use a pressure canner. So the only ingredients I'll be putting in is citric acid, and what I have here is non-GMO citric acid, so because I like all organic and natural and everything, right? So that's great. You can also use traditional thing you find in everyone's fridge, the plastic lemon. This is processed and maybe not so natural or organic, but it's good, it works, no problem. And salt. So what I'll be using here is a canning salt. You don't want to be using the iodized salt or anything, again, that's too processed. It will affect the canning and cloud up your stuff or do different things that you don't want. So I just use a coarse kosher salt. Gourmet cooking, of course, because you know, my kitchen, everything's gourmet, right? So yeah, tomatoes, citric acid. You need some canning jars. I've got my canner here. Let this thing help me get stuff in the jar without making mess. I got a magnet to pick up the lids. I got a, I don't know what you call this, but jar lifter. Okay, I got water already on the go. I got a deep pot. This is where I'm going to start the tomatoes, so I'm just going to slice them, toss them in here, bring them to a boil. Then I'm going to run them through a strainer in the pots. Everything metal that touch your tomatoes, make sure it's food grade acid resistant stainless steel, or else you get different bad reactions, including your knife that you'll be using, right? Don't use one of your cheap knives that you see on TV late at night. They're not good for slicing tomatoes. They're made out of aluminum or something. So yeah, this will be the transfer pot. Now, so what I'll do is I'll cook the sauce in here. I'll transfer it to here. This will take out all the seeds and skin, right? Leaving me with a nice sauce. And then that sauce I'll again bring up to temperature, at least 170, and then put it into canning jars. And by then this will be hot. It'll go into there. Depending on your altitude, you add time to the suggested canning time. So it'll be different depending on where you live than how I'm doing it, but where I live I add 5 minutes to it, so if it says 10 minutes I do it for 15, etc. You can find that online, no problem. Google canning times for whatever, you know, canning times, and then the name of your town or city or whatever, right? So, yeah, that's all there is to it. I'm going to get chopping, start boiling the sauce. It's really easy to do. For the canning stuff, here I have the lids. I've washed these with soapy water and rinsed them off. I'm going to put them in a small saucepan here, cover with water, and put on the stove on medium to low heat just to keep the seals soft and malleable. I don't know, probably the wrong word. They're not metal, but just to keep the seals soft so we'll get a good seal. I'll keep this in hot water. They're all sanitary. The jars I put in the dishwasher, and from the dishwasher, before I fill them, I just put them on a sheet tray in the oven at the lowest setting, which in my oven is 170 degrees Fahrenheit, a holding temperature. That'll prevent anything from growing on them in between the dishwasher and filling them with tomato sauce. So yeah, this is a look at my canning materials and a short explanation. So I'll add water to that and have those warming up on the stove along with my tomato sauce and water in the canner. So before I started cutting tomatoes, I've turned the water in the canner on so it's ready when the sauce is ready to go. So these are really easy to do. You just slice them into smaller pieces, so you don't have to dice them up or anything. The larger they are, obviously, the more pieces maybe slice them into. It's also a good time to save seeds. Just squeeze out a bit of the seeds onto your cutting board, put them to the side or whatever. Right, come along after and scrape them onto a paper towel, I find is good, or I thought I had a screen here, filter screen from your juicer, or you know, even this filter thing here I have. There's a mesh colander or whatever, right? You can throw all your seeds in there, rinse them, and the seeds will stay in there. Paper towel is great because you can let them dry on them. But yeah, cherry tomatoes, I just slice them in half. I will be saving these seeds. I really love these tomatoes. And when I bought them, I don't know, I think my knife is dull. When I bought these tomatoes, I think there was like 11 seeds in a package or something. It's like $5, right? $5 Canadian. And yeah, like 11 seeds. Half of one tomato probably has more than 11 seeds in it. But that's all you have to do. Scrape it out. I know I am making sauce, so I don't want to lose too much of the... But you want to save seeds. Super easy to do while you're making sauce. You're cutting the tomatoes up anyways. A few seeds are going to fall out whether you try to or not. And it's easy enough. You're using a cutting board and a knife. So yeah, I'm just going to slice up a bunch of these. I'm not going to start it boiling until there's enough in a pot that it doesn't burn on the bottom. I can stir it up, right? But I'll bring it back and show you what that looks like in 1 second. Once you have enough tomatoes cut that it's a few inches deep in the pan, the whole bottom is covered, and if you turn it on, it shouldn't burn. Have something to stir it with. Wooden spoon's good, just silicone. Again, you don't want any metal other than food grade stainless steel touching your tomatoes. So from here, I'm going to turn it on. Of course, I want this to boil, but I'm not going to turn it on right to high. Okay, it's always a bad idea to turn things up all the way. So this is from 1 to 9, I guess. High is 9. I got it on 8. So from here, I'll leave it on the heat. I'll start heating them up. I'll just keep cutting and adding more tomatoes to it until I fill the pot 3/4 full. I'll let it boil so it all renders down out of the flesh into sauce. And I'll start separating the skin and the seeds, super easy, and can it. So I'll bring you back once the sauce is going at a boil. Alright, so just in a few minutes it starts boiling and the tomatoes start turning into mush, which is what you want, all the sauce coming out of it. So I've gone ahead and turned it down just a little bit, still on a medium high heat. You want to keep it at a low boil, a little more than a simmer as you add tomatoes to it. Don't add so many that it stops it from boiling. Yeah, just continue on until you've got all of your tomatoes cut and added, or you have the pot, you know, 3/4 full, and then you're ready for the next step. If it's boiled and all turned to mush and you're happy with the consistency, then you're ready for the next step. Okay, that's just a look at from fresh to sauce. Super easy, no other ingredients, just some citric acid and some salt that's optional. You don't add that now, you add that into each individual jar. You can add your dry herbs and such if you like, and even that's probably better in each individual jar. But that's up to you. You can add it all now. You can make the tomato sauce taste exactly just the way you like it right now, and then you know, each of your jars will all be like the way you want. That's totally optional, but this is simple. This will make a base sauce that you can turn into anything. Very, very useful. But yeah, it doesn't this isn't like the only way to do it. This is the simplest way to do it, right? This tomatoes, citric acid, some salt, super easy. I'll bring you back next step. Once you have your pot up to a nice level, giving yourself some headroom in case it foams over, or you know, just so when you're stirring it and working with it, you're not making a mess or burning yourself. That's the only reason I leave a space. There's no technical reason it won't make a better sauce or anything. So yeah, I just once I finish putting in tomatoes, I keep stirring it. I let it boil for a while till all the tomatoes I put in have turned to mush. Right? You can just push them up against the side. You can see how mushy they are. Okay, now this is halfway done. See how easy it is? No ingredients. You just throw tomatoes in a pot, bring them to a boil. I'm going to turn the heat off temporarily. I'm going to move these to the back burner, which is off. Okay, no, I don't want skins and seeds in my sauce. So I'm going to use, once again, stainless steel. Everything using this metal needs to be stainless steel. Food grade, acid resistant stainless steel. So that's going to remove, it's a fine mesh. It's like for baking and stuff, putting flour through and such. Right? It's going to remove all the seeds and the skins and chunks. Push it through. I'm going to use a silicone spatula spoonula, whatever it is. And where did I put? Yeah, so it's as simple as this. I like to bring the two pots close together. I'm just going to scoop out the... Nope, that's why I wanted to turn off the stove first. Get some action here on the video. That wasn't good. I don't want the sauce in the heat like that. We are going to put it back on heat and bring it back up to temperature for the canning process in a hot pack cans. Okay, so Just going to push down the sauce through here. And you start doing this and notice it's not mushy enough or too many chunks of tomato. You can always toss it back in and let it boil a little longer. That's why I don't like boiling it on high heat, because I don't know how long I'm going to have it on there. Lower heat, make a nicer end product, I find. So, really simple. You're just separating the skins and the seeds. All the flesh should be mush, should go right through into your sauce. These are paste tomatoes, so it'll be a little bit thick. That'd be alright with me. This really is probably one of the easiest things to preserve. It's a high acid, so we can just use a water bath. And yeah, you can just add lemon juice or citric acid. You don't even have to add salt for preservation of this. So you just want to do this until you've got a full pot, enough to start your canning process. You know how many I'm going to put, what are they, pints? I'm going to put 7 pints in my canner, so I'd like to get at least 7 pints of liquid in here before I start canning. Now this pot's not very deep. I'm going to have to lift this up and play around with it a bit. That's alright. Yeah. So I'm going to keep doing this until I get a bunch of liquid in the pot, and then I'll heat it back up and start canning. I separated all the seeds and skins, and what you have left is a nice sauce. Nothing in it, it's all homogeneous, consistent, tomatoey. Okay, so you bring this back up to a boil, and then we're going to hot pack it to the canning jars. Alright, I held my canning jars in the oven at 170, pulled them out, I filled them up. So each jar is a 500 milliliter jar or a pint size jar. I will put, this is a 1/4 teaspoon citric acid, and a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, canning salt, this would also be the time if you want to add dried herbs, a teaspoon or 2 to each pint. Of course, if you're doing quarts, just double it. And you pack the jars hot. You want to fill it to 1/2 inch or a centimeter head space. Alright. Okay, so one trick, make sure you get a good seal. Just to wipe around the edges. And you use just a paper towel. Use the boiling water. This way there's no food residue or anything between the glass and the gum seal of the lid. So just go along, make sure they're all clean. Of course the boiling water is sanitized, so it's no problem. It's easier with the paper towel, it's not so big. I'll get the other end in. It's a little hot on the finger. You know, that's all there is to it. The magnet thing. Pop on the canning lid. finger tight, with a good tight. I'm going to do the rest of them and I'll show you dropping them into the water bath. Okay, into your boiling canner. This one fits about 7 pints. Alright, get them in there so they sit flat. It's hard to see with all the steam in my eyes. Now with this, it's important the water sits at least an inch above the jars, and all the jars sit flat. And again, follow the guidelines for whatever elevation you are at above sea level for the time it takes to process. Tomatoes in a water bath take 35 minutes. Because of my altitude, I'll be adding 5 minutes, so this is going to take 40 minutes. I'm going to put the lid back on. Once it's back to a boil, I'll hit the timer for 40 minutes. And that's as simple as it is. Take them out, and I'll show you that later. Alright, 40 minutes is up. Take them out. It's good to check them once in a while too, and make sure they haven't fallen over or banged up against each other. So take them out. You're going to be tempted. There you can see there's water on top of the lid there. You'd be tempted to tilt it. You don't want to do that, because any water, or sorry, any of the liquid or whatever you're canning inside will right up the side and get between the lip of the jar and the seal, and you won't get a good seal. Well, there's a chance it'll affect the seal. So yeah, you just want to take these out. What I do is I put a clean dishcloth on the counter, sit these on it, and not touch them for 24 hours. I'll show you exactly what I'm doing. So I'm just lifting them out of the water bath. Put them on a clean dishcloth. And you want to leave a few, centimeters, maybe an inch, as much as you can between them. Help them cool off. That's all there is to it. I'm just going to let these sit untouched. Don't move the jars. Don't worry about the water on top. They'll evaporate or whatever. It's fine. After they've sat for 24 hours, you can remove the rings and check the seals, label them, and put them away in storage. They're good to go. So that's just to look at one of the simplest things to preserve and store from your garden. It's also one of the mother sauces for cooking, so it's essential if you like to do a lot of cooking. Having some tomato sauce save you some money. And here, for instance, these were all green tomatoes coming out of my garden at the end of the season, so it made use of something that otherwise, don't get much use of green tomatoes, and not fully grown tomatoes and whatever, but it's a great way to use up your tomatoes. If you found this at all helpful or interesting, please consider subscribing for easy, affordable and sustainable organic gardening, beekeeping, other things around the house. Love to make new friends. Looking forward to get to know you all. So, peace.